James is doing vocal tracks and he's doing like the very tail end of the Unforgiven and doing the, whoa, whoa, he's doing all that stuff. And it could tell it's early in the session because he's like kind of figuring out what he's doing. And Bob Rock says, make it a little bit more Hetfield. And I guess that line, like that quote is ringing in my head. Like, man, he's giving it a lot of Hetfield.
A lot of Hetfield.
There's so much Hetfield on this album.
There's just too much Hetfield.
Welcome to Every Album Ever with Mike and Alex, the podcast where we listen to every single album in the world, one artist at a time. It's a whole new discography per episode. My name is Michael Mansour, and I'm joined, as always, by my bright and happy and optimistic and looking forward to these albums co-host Alexander Volt. Say hello.
Hey.
Not going to be talking about that song exactly. Yeah. And today we'll be discussing what are we discussing today?
This is part 2 in our Metallica series. Do we call these series? I'm going to call it a series.
I guess we call it a series.
And for those of you joining in, or I think a lot of people thought we were going to tackle the big atrocious ones, and we're sorry to make you wait, but that is coming in part 3.
We're doing it in 3 parts, and we are doing it in 3 parts because one, we care about ourselves and our sanity. These albums are long as shit. And I didn't realize that one of the albums we're covering today is their official, like in terms of official studio albums, their longest studio album. Because they have like 2-hour albums, but those are like considered compilations. But like in terms of like original, not live, just full-on studio album. The longest one is in this episode.
Probably going to have to tack on not collaborative too, because I'm pretty sure.
Yes. Official raw. It's just asterisk.
Metallica.
Official raw studio Metallica album is. So for one, we're doing it in 3 parts because they're super duper long, and also it's more fun to separate it into eras like this. The first era, part 1, which you should all go watch, is the fun era, the one with 4 of the greatest albums ever made, and we're just having a good time talking about which ones we like the most and forcing to give one of them worst. Here is a little bit more complicated because we got some good and we got some interesting and unusual. And then in part 3 is where we get the bullshit, is the crazy bullshit. And that's going to be all pain, mostly pain. This is going to be like unusual, some good, some bad. That's going to be pain.
I mean, there's bullshit here for sure.
Yes.
There's a clear winner here for sure.
Yes. The loser is where I'm very curious. Because for those who don't know, if you're brand new here, we play a little game here. We pick our best, we pick our personal favorites, we pick our worst. And if we have a personal bias, then we pick our least favorite, if it's not the worst. And sometimes it's, this one, obviously, what we're going to give best once we tell you the albums are covering, obviously. Who the fuck knows what's getting worse here? I'm very curious to what your worst is.
I've learned some things about myself. This is one of those episodes where I went in, I was like, I know what I'm going to give worse to, and it swerved on me. It swerved on you.
And I hadn't heard these, aside from disc 2 of Garage Inc. I haven't heard that 90s chunk in so long. I mean, like 22 years, maybe something like that. It's so long that I was actually looking forward to the nostalgia of like, oh, I forgot about this song. That was better than I remember. That one's not so good. Or maybe I used to love this song and now I hate it. I've got all of that. All of those things happened where songs I remember loving as a child are just piles of shit. And then other songs that I remember dismissing, thinking like, oh, that's a super underrated song from who would have thought. But in the end, found myself struggling. And I will say up front, my worst is just how I feel right now. It could go either way. It could change in a day. I feel so similarly about these albums that it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, I think I'm fairly confident because maybe like 5 years, maybe I don't know why I remember what I was doing that day, but for some reason King Nothing was just like in my head, so I decided to throw those albums on. I was like, are they as bad as I remember? And I walked away from them like, yeah, there's no reason to revisit them. Plus, like, I'm gonna, like, I knew we were gonna eventually do a podcast. So this it's hopefully the last time.
Dude, I will, because so get out of the way. We're covering the era of 1991 to 1998. The lovely, only the 90s. This is all the 90s. So from the Black Album to Garage Inc. 4 albums, totaling like fucking 12 hours of music. I mean, it's so long. But
I really don't remember Garage Inc. being as long as it is. It's crazy.
Yeah, me too. I remember as a kid, I remember the first disc being like super short and the second disc being a little bit longer. The first disc is 65 minutes. The second disc is 70 minutes. So it's not like, I don't know what the fuck I was like. I was just more appreciative of the music, I think, as a 8-year-old when I first heard it.
Yeah, I think also too, like, had all the time in the world for video games. So like, just throw that on, and like, fond memory first, that was like my soundtrack for Twisted Metal Black was Garage Inc. So like, when you're in that video game mode and you got the really dating myself here, you got this sweet like multi-disc changer. You could load them up. You don't got to worry about it.
Load and reload them up, baby.
I wasn't going for a pun, but I'll take it.
Oh, dude. Like, yeah, the album, the length that long CDs were, as we're going to tackle specifically here, because it was part of the marketing for one of them, like long albums were like, hey, dude, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck here. I mean, the longer, the better. Nowadays, we fucking hate long albums and like quit, just make your point, make it flow nicely and get out before you starts to overstay and starts to get boring and whatever. And one of the albums, the longest one, is they had to shave off a minute, or was it 30 seconds, or a minute to 30 seconds of what would have been their longest song ever in order to fit it on the CD. Like, we get shaving off stuff to fit on a vinyl all the time. On a CD, they're like, I guess we got to cut this part. And they put it, I think it was on the packaging, like 79 minutes, 30, 40 seconds, 50 seconds. Like it was like, hey, check it out. Check out how fucking long this thing is. And going back, man, holy hell, do I really wish they weren't this long.
Yeah, I'm going to argue that one of them would be a decent album. Not good. I guess decent good. So not great. But I think one of these could have been a pretty all right album if it wasn't for the length.
That's funny how you have that distinction, because I really, man, I don't know. We'll talk about when we get to it. I found it to be so difficult to like. They both the load and reload. They both hit everything for me. Like, they both do the exact same. Like, it's almost like I'm listening to the same fucking album twice. Oh shit! But before we get into that, we have some notes here from our boy Tom Osman, who you should all go support and follow. He has given us some snippets from Metallica Official History, which I believe is from their website, and another piece from Louder Sound discussing their album covers. And he even put a little game for us, a little quote guessing game. He's going to put a quote and we have to guess who it is. I don't know. I didn't read the quotes. I didn't click on who it was. So we're going to go in blind. That should be fun. And yeah, we might as well go into it. Yeah, this is the where we left off was Justice, which not to give too many spoilers, but we liked all the albums. But where we're going next is, man, it's just such a.
It's one of
this has been talked about ad nauseum. But still,
yeah, it's one of the craziest left turns in music history, I think, where the band had released their most technical album, regardless of how people feel about it. Although I think it's aged up. People appreciate the progginess of it now. So to go from tech prog rock Metallica to the Black Album at their most pop is nutty.
It's nutty, and we're going to talk all about it. So we might as well jump into it. Are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready. We're probably going to be here for a while. So
Yes, we are. So let's get this ball. Hell yeah. So this is 1991's self-titled or the Black Album. And I really don't even want to intro this song because we've heard it too many fucking times. We all know this song.
I agree that it is one of the most overplayed songs in the history of rock music. But I think because it was a song I had the sheet music for on drums, I just really appreciate Lars drumming on this.
Yeah. I think everyone I knew had the guitar tab book for this album back when that was a thing.
I mean, riffs for days on this album.
Indeed. This was the first Metallica I ever heard when I was 5. I was obsessed with this song, of course, and this whole album.
Not on the ones, on the twos. You get the...
But the most important thing is James is now James Hetfield.
It's so crazy. Man, this is the it's like Metallica's Walk This Way, where it's a great song, but it became so overplayed and did such insane damage to music. It's not the song's fault.
Yeah, it's not the song. No, it's the culture's fault. But the thing is, obviously, best personal favorite. I mean,
best personal.
No shit.
Yeah. It sounds phenomenal. It's
incredible. Yeah,
it's a wacky pivot, but I think it paid off in a big way, and I think it's one of the best sounding hard rock albums ever. If I did this favorite production off the top, I'm probably going to write the Black Album down.
I don't blame you. It's in terms of heavily produced albums, this is one of the best ever. Without a fucking, I'm not a big fan of heavily produced albums, but dude, there's no denying the crack of that snare, the fucking punch of those toms, the chunkiness, everything feels perfect. It feels perfect. And I will say, I watched most of, just to refresh, because I haven't seen it since many years, the Year and a Half in Life of Metallica, the documentary.
Oh shit.
And I used to watch that shit religiously as a kid. And it's really, a lot of it's really cringy. Looking at Lars sitting on his chair like this with his hair. Yeah, I know. I was talking to James. He's really obnoxious. He's super obnoxious. But it was interesting looking at how they recorded it. They recorded it from October to, I don't know, March or something. I forgot the exact months, but it was a long time. And looking at why it took so long, it's they were Bob Rock, who's the producer now for all these albums, he really is when you think of a producer that goes in there and starts giving pointers and starts arguing with the band, it's such a gross thing coming from the Steve Albini camp of let's record what you sound like. I have no creative input. You're the artist, so I'm just the guy recording you. To this dude who's telling James to change notes, and it's just a bizarre thing. But that's it. It was this really such an immaculate. They really put so much time and money into this fucking thing. You could hear it.
Absolutely, and yeah, I think there's probably some medium ground between a Bob Rock and an Albini, although of course I would argue Albini's Jamini Kano to reference a band very few Metallica bands probably listen to.
Minuteman, check it out, episode of Minuteman, a fucking amazing band.
But I don't know. It's such it literally feels like lightning in a bottle because they chased this dragon that was the Black Album for probably over a decade, if not longer, and just failed every single time after it. And then
I don't agree with that entirely. I don't think they listening to how the albums after this, they were so the only thing that I would say that it shares with the Black Album is the thing that the Black Album shares with the first 4 albums is it's a little bit trying to follow that perfect formula of sweet sequencing with like like a big heavy follow-up track, a power ballad of some sort as track 4, like that kind of thing. Other than that, like some of the shit they dealt with on the next album is like nowhere near this. It's like this still has like elements of metal. I mean, still metal for the most part, and then elements of thrash, like 2 thrash songs or something, like 1.5 thrash songs on here.
I guess what I mean is, or to be more specific in terms of personality, like they stuck it out with Bob Rock for far too long, to the point where I'm gonna try to watch it when we do part 3, where like you can see like in God, I'm so glad they made that some kind of monster documentary. It's so funny.
I never saw it. Still never saw it.
It's so funny. Lars's dad is the best, and that's probably the only good person in there. But it's just like dude really thought he was in the band. He really thought he was in the band. And
he did play bass on those Saint Anger, and he did play live with them a couple times when they needed or something like that.
But yeah, I don't know. It's also this so interesting because without Metallica, I feel like he kind of fell off the face of the music world. Like who's like, oh shit, we got Bob Rock working.
Yeah, no one gives a fuck about Bob Rock except for Metallica. Okay, at the time he was doing what's this fucking I keep wanting to say Merciful Fate and Motorhead, 2 significantly better bands than Motley Crue. That's what I was trying to think of. Motley Crue. It was the Umlauts. Yeah, he did them, right? Or something.
Like in terms of production, so he did Dr. Feelgood.
Okay, so yeah,
he did like a Bon Jovi. He worked with Motley Crue. He did like an album for the Cult, who I like.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I wasn't expecting to see Veruca Salt here, but he worked with.
I remember that as well. Yeah,
Veruca Salt. I mean, he is like, to me, it makes sense that he worked with the Cult because the Cult is very much a hard rock band. Like, to me, that's like a good definition of hard rock. Mm-hmm. So that makes sense. I guess, I don't know. I guess he did work a little bit. He continues to work with Motley Crue and the fucking Offspring. So
I remember the Offspring. That was like a recent, like their last album. That's pretty crazy.
That came out this year. Holy shit.
This year. I can't believe they're still releasing albums produced by Bob Rock, no less. But he seemed like he came from like a hard rock, hair metal type of background. And James kept saying like he just wanted it simpler, he wanted that crunch, wanted a big crunch that Metallica never had.
And he got it.
Boy, did they get it. So it is a very, very good album. I have so few issues with it musically.
No skips.
It's no skips, but it's also so crazy how you listen to James on Justice, and you listen to him now, and then he sounds like he's aged 10 years. And then all of a sudden he has this insane perfect form style that if you try to like imitate it in any way, or like take pieces of it for your own shit, it would just sound like you're directly parroting him. It's like, it's such a insanely distinct honed style overnight.
I was thinking about that throughout these releases, where it's really crazy that they have hard rock songs, but it's like Metallica hard rock. Like, it's not really, sometimes it's done in the vein of other artists, but like even when they're doing mediocre and mid stuff, I'm getting a little ahead. It's like Metallica. It's their brand. It's just really, really crazy how strong their style is.
The rhythm section is is so characteristically them, especially from this point on. I mean, because before the rhythm section was just speedy and crazy and really intricate, and you never knew where the rhythm exactly was, but it all felt kind of fit together. This is like big giant boom, boom, like just big giant drums, never very fast. Sometimes it'll go a little bit faster, but never that fast. And this album is no different. Like the only issue I have with the album as a whole is just the first two songs, which are, one of them is just because I'm tired of Inner Sandman, which is a personal bias. I'm just fucking tired of it. And two is Sad But True. I've heard it so many times that I can no longer appreciate it as a track two anymore because I just heard it too many times. This is all like just personal bias being worn out listening to this for the vast majority of my whole life. But as soon as Holier Than Thou comes on, the rest I'm just back on board completely.
I used to love Sad But True. I think it's this nasty, it's amazing, but then being a child of the late 90s, early 2000s, yeah, I don't. Kid Rock ruined that fucking song for me.
It was a riff so sleazy that Kid Rock had to steal it and use it for his thing.
And in my brain, I can't divorce the two. I wish I could, but
that's funny because Sad But True was one of my favorites when I was, too young to be listening to music, basically. And it was so young that I wasn't exposed to music in the traditional sense. All I heard was what was my brothers were playing. That's like literally my only avenue. So I didn't even learn about the Kid Rock shitty fucking knockoff until.
Was it wrestling? Please say it was wrestling.
It was wrestling, but even then, it was before I started watching wrestling. It was like the first time I'd ever seen The Undertaker ever. And I was like, why he has Sad But True? He has Sad But True as a song. And they're like, no, it's American Bad. I was like, what the fuck is that bullshit, dude? And I was so angry because like they just stole Metallica's song. How does it even make any sense? This is the song. This is not that bullshit. This is the song. So it was never ruined for me for that because I didn't hear it until so much later.
I mean, yeah, American Badass was everywhere, and as Kid Rock has gotten more sleazy over the years, it's just.
I've always thought Kid Rock, his music was utter dog shit, but that's not exactly a hot take. Considering the stuff that we cover on this pod, but
Metallica, this needs to stay away from guys named Bob. That's the lesson here.
That's the lesson, including my brother Robert. But
does anyone call him Bob? I feel like that'd be
no. It'd be very funny though if he's Bob now. But I remember coming back to this for the first time in like years and years when I was in my early 20s. And that was when I kind of gave it a full appreciation all over again since I was a kid. And the one that stuck with me the most, and it still sticks to me now, Holier Than Thou, I think is like my favorite song on the album, if I had to pick one.
Oh, nice. That's like the quote unquote the fast one for this one.
It's like the thrash song. It's like that and Through the Never are the thrash songs, but that one is like more, it's like that would fit in a little bit on a previous album if it was, played then.
I agree. I think if I got to pick like, the Alex pick on here, it's Wherever I May Roam. It's this.
Ooh. Because the sitars, baby. Sitars.
Well, it's that, but also it's just like, it's that sweet spot where it's not overplayed. I get like the production I want from it. And yeah, I don't know. I just think it's a monster of a song. I mean, all of them are.
It is a monster of a song. It's funny how it kind of hit me more on this album, even though it made me reconsider other albums, of how much I wouldn't say I prefer James's solos because they're so infrequent. You can't really, it's just a couple every album, but how much I tend to immediately latch on his solos and then learn that they're his later on. So the first solo in Wherever I May Roam, the short one, I was like, oh, this first solo, it's short, it's perfect. It's, even though the other one's great, this one is fucking perfect. And it's a James solo. I learned that later. I've always been a huge sucker for the solo Nothing Else Matters, another James solo. The first solo in Orion from Master of Puppets, that was a James solo. Like I just tend to like his a lot more. They're a lot more succinct and a lot more melodic. Whereas Kirk, I'm not going to be one of the people that shits on Kirk for doing the same thing over and over again. I think he has a cool style. I think he has a cool tone. I don't have a problem with his solos, but that's just my takeaway from this time with the album this time.
Hearing you talk about that, I think it's very interesting how like Metallica was very much my band as a teenager, but for some reason, the only band in my whole life I've bothered to like learn the difference between the solos was Slayer. Like I can tell a Kerry King solo from my
versus
I don't know if it's this because it's easier, but yeah, like Mastodon, Metallica, I'm just like, it's all solos. It's all good.
Mastodon, I just thought it was all Brent.
It's mostly Brent, to be fair, but Bill has some moments here and there.
Yeah. Also, one thing I learned, which I was reading about the following albums, and I learned that the next album, I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but the next album is the first time on the recordings that Kirk is playing his rhythm parts, which I don't know. It just never struck me that James actually plays both guitars on all the albums except for the leads. Like
that's pretty insane.
On the liner notes, when it says Kirk Hammett lead guitar, it just means lead guitar. It was being very literal.
Yeah.
And apparently it was to achieve a very tight sound, which you're going to hear that on Justice. Like I made a joke on our episode saying like, all you could hear is fucking James's guitar and the drums, but it was literally only James's guitar and the drums. So I guess, yeah, some other highlights here. Everyone has heard this album. You're here for our takes for whatever reason, but we like it. What else do you like?
I love how nasty Don't Tread on Me is. Like, I just get so lost in the sauce that when the West Side Story riff comes on, I don't even register it as West Side Story.
Dude, such an underrated song. Another favorite as a kid that, man, for one, yeah, it's the song America from West Side Story for anybody who doesn't know, which is honestly a pretty rad song. The original, it's pretty sick.
I probably just like it because I mean, like kudos to Kirk or whoever had the ear to be like, oh, that would like sound cool as a metal riff, because it absolutely does.
I think it fits the whole theme, the Don't Tread on Me thing, and then they have the Gadsden's flag snake on the cover.
Mm-hmm.
So it fits the theme of it. I mean, the song America, I mean, it's literally in the title, but it does fit quite well. I mean, and boy, is that one sleazy motherfucking song. It's a really fun chorus with like a really nasty, sleazy verse. I'm surprised it works as well as it does.
Same. I don't want to make you like pull it up if it's too much trouble, but Through the Never, my iTunes glitched out around like 240 to 246, doing this like perfect loop over and over again. I was like, this is an insane ending. I don't remember this song being this fucking insane, because it was so I was like, there's no way. And then like, but the little thing was still moving to show like time was I was like,
yeah,
is this? But then like it went into the next song and it was still glitch. So like,
that's a mind fuck.
Yeah, for like 40 seconds or so, I was like, no, not that part. It's like I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, it was, and it's crazy that it like perfectly looped.
Oh man.
But yeah, I agree with what you said earlier. That is like the other thrashy song.
Yeah, Through the Never, it might be the fastest song on the album. At least that main riff might feel the fastest. Maybe the song is not exactly the fastest. That would probably be either Struggle Within or Holier Than Thou. But that verse comes in, absolutely rules. And that breakdown. Are you talking about the breakdown section? What was the timestamp that you gave?
Like around 244, around there.
Oh yeah, the one with the big ass toms.
I think so. Yes.
Yeah. It's a great ass section. If anything's going to loop for 10 minutes, it's going to be that one.
Yeah. Fucking insane.
I love it. Love it. other completely beaten to death because we've all heard it too many times. The Unforgiven. Yes, it's very, very good. Yes, it's still very, very good.
It's so funny how they were like, this is our only song that needs 2 sequels.
Yeah, we're going to cover one of them sequels in a bit, but this is the only one you need. This is the version you need.
I would say he's at his most Yardley. I mean, throughout the album, obviously, but like if you had to pick the Yarls, never more. Dude, the like closing parts kind of destroy me a little bit.
It's fun though. It's a good ass song. Still very good. Nothing Else Matters. Yeah, I mean, is it the first full-fledged ballad? Because it gets big and loud in the solo sec.
I would consider it's also a you could play like the first few notes on guitar. You don't need open
strings.
Yeah, open strings, easy peasy. Yeah. But then you're like, you don't know what to do after that. So
that was one of those songs where when I learned it, it just became the what I play when I'm not paying attention, holding a guitar, watching TV. It's just one of those things that you just kind of return to. Nowadays, it's like random ass. Honestly, we're gonna be covering it later, but fucking if I pick up a guitar and it's in standard tuning, I immediately start playing Blitzkrieg. I just can't help it. But after that, we got Of Wolf and Man, which I liked it as a young man, but it was sort of like give or take. Now I find myself loving those choruses like way more than before.
Yeah, it's very like Viking almost, like I mean
like Freedom's Insanity?
Yeah, like kind of like invoking that. So yeah, it is, if you want to call anything on this album underrated, I would say that is the most underrated song on the album.
It is very fucking cool. It hits so hard, and it's perfect pacing following Nothing Else Matters. Of course, it with those big ass fucking snare and tom hits.
And the final 2 tracks, we get some Justice, pun intended.
Final 3. We got 3 more.
Oh, sorry. Sorry, not the. On God That Failed and Friend of Misery, you get some Justice for Jason because
finally,
man, I think the bass sound on God That Failed and My Friend of Misery is
it's
more the God That Failed. I love how like that's how a hard rock bass should sound.
Oh yeah, it's got so much punch, man. It sounds so fucking good. Apparently, in the recording of it, because he plays with a pick, that the scraping of the pick was so loud that it was picking up and it was actually bleeding into the songs. So they built a fucking wall of foam around him. So he had to play in this little cubicle of foam, which, as a guy who's not super nitpicky about immaculate everything, I bet I wouldn't even notice the fucking pick scrapes. But that's just because I'm not.
I think you would.
Yeah, maybe I would. Maybe I would.
I think you would.
But I don't think I would mind them. I tend to like scrapey pick stuff. But crazy fucking great song. Amazing chorus. And that just reminded me of a thing that this whole album does perfect, better than they've ever done it, and probably better than they'll ever do it again. The vocal harmonies on this album are absolutely perfectly done. I mean, tasteful, subtle. My favorite is, of course, Holier Than Thou, because the way they come in on this, and it's aggressive ass song, but they come in at the ends of lines every now and then, and they always come in a different way. They don't just repeat the same types of harmonies. It's perfectly done.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy how they'll just lose everything we're done. They just fucking.
Thing is, they actually retain the tools and like the tricks. It's the songwriting and the execution, the style choices. It's the choices that they're making. That's like, oh wait, it actually still is. They still stay amazingly produced with wonderful arrangements and all this like really well done stuff. But this is a fucking still a metal album, and it's still and all these things for a metal album sounds amazing.
I agree. Closing it out with Struggle Within, which is like one of the shorter songs on the album, which is pretty crazy, but I think it does a good job of leaving you with that, like you want more when it's over.
It's the weakest song on the album for me, but I've learned to like it more lately. It has like one of their best intros ever. And it only goes on for 30 seconds and it never returns to it, which kind of bugs me. But yeah, there's actual some thrashy moments there. The fast sung vocals feel kind of silly to me, but it all works pretty well. It is closing it out really strong. The way they've done since Puppets. Maybe not as, I don't like it as much as Dyer's Eve or Dyer's Eve, but it's still pretty cool. And it's the fact that so another amazing thing, this came out in fucking 91, the year that just blew the fucking doors off of rock music. Like getting Nevermind and this album in the same fucking year.
Insane.
No wonder the whole world, no wonder music was like the most lucrative. There was the most opportunity after this. Like this was the floodgates were open for everyone to try shit. And there was actual opportunity. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is and it's crazy that was like the last boom period for rock music.
Yep. It was such a boom. It was such a violent boom though. I mean, it doesn't get bigger than that for rock. Like of course it died after this.
I mean, yeah, we've covered countless bands who got major record deals off the backs of these two albums. And some of them were really like Melvins but like, yeah, would White Zombie even have a career if it wasn't for a Black Album or Nevermind?
Yeah, considering how they started, super noise rock sounding.
Yeah,
it's really amazing that this came out as good as it did with this big of a jump and a risk, and the fact that it just influenced this in Nirvana. It both created everything great and everything shitty at the exact. It's amazing. It's really amazing.
Yeah. I guess that when you're that big and that influential, you don't get to pick. Yeah. So
from their website, which is of course, but the things I'm reading from the website, they're going to be extremely biased. We're going to disagree when we feel like it. But it says in 1991, Metallica released their self-titled album, better known by fans as the Black Album. New producer Bob Rock focused the band on a fuller sound with simpler arrangements, and it went straight to #1 all over the world and didn't really leave for a couple of years, selling in excess of 16 million copies worldwide, spawning several legitimate singles and earning various industry accolades, including a Grammy, MTV, and American Music Awards.
To this day, at time of recording this in 2024, it is somehow still among the best-selling records every year.
It's just timeless. It really is. Like, because there are moments, even though the first four are perfect and really the greatest, you can't touch those first four albums. There's elements of them that are dated. Of course, Kill 'Em All sounds like fucking early 80s fast heavy metal. It doesn't really sound like thrash shit. And there are moments of Ride where it just sounds a little, it's the 80s. There's something about this that feels like, oh, this is just perfectly executed hard rock metal. Like a poster child for a whole genre. You wanted some rock music? Here, listen to this. This is good rock music. It's so accessible. It's obviously it's not. I don't think it's their best album, but it's still like impossible to deny how accessible it is.
Agreed.
And this is what I find to be one of the most interesting things about the album. The tours that followed this album went on and on. It says the tour that accompanied it was equally gargantuan, close to 300 shows in 3 years, and pushing the band to limits they didn't know they could reach. It also featured the famous joint headline stadium tour with Guns N' Roses and yielded the first ever official live album, Live Shit, Binge and Purge, a roadcase shaped box set containing all manner of intimate tour ephemera from writers to factors. And I have that right here because of course I own this and had watched it religiously as a young boy. And I didn't get to go back to these live performances. I didn't have time. I went to other live performances. I tried to squeeze in as much as I could, just to like refresh. I don't have many reasons to go back to this stuff, so it's nice to have an excuse. But it's like fun. Like the stage that they had on that tour what the fuck was it? It was like an amusement park. It was this crazy thing with ramps, and it was huge, and it was in the middle of a round, and there was they were just running around on stage, having drum battles. It's just so much. It seemed like some of the best arena rock you could possibly imagine.
Even on the arrow that covers like the Injustice part, like having the like stage blow up was just so fucking cool. It gave me like a false sense of what I thought rock shows would be.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure they had some crazy setup the first time I saw them, but I assume they still do to this day. But the last time I saw them when they were touring on Death Magnetic, it was very cool. They had like a coffin shaped stage like right in the middle, and you could like as in a concert goer, you could like if you were in the pit area, which I don't know how I got those fucking tickets. I like debate if I want to see Metallica ever again because that was just so perfect.
Yeah.
Like I kind of just want to leave it, but yeah, you could walk around the whole stage if you were in the pit area. It is just like they're always on top of that. I guess they got the money to do it, so
they sure do. The production value for the shows has always been very, very cool. All the props. I mean, the 88, 89 Justice Tour where they had the fucking Lady Justice and it would, crumble.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, like that kind of shit. I mean, it's just even for later on in the tour that we're gonna get the late 90s, they still have like crazy giant things exploding. They were all like, just like, oh, we're gonna fuck with the audience and we're gonna make everything explode. It's really fun stuff when rock music was insanely profitable. I stumbled across a Twitter post or a reel, or I don't remember which social media thing I saw, but it was just Matt Damon talking about why he can't.
Oh yes, DVDs.
Yeah, because of DVDs.
It was on Hot Ones.
Oh, it was a clip from Hot Ones. Yes, exactly. The death of DVDs meant the death of potential revenue for movies that were a little bit more niche, and thinking about like how much like. This band, Metallica could still do it because they're already grandfathered in. But these days, when you get giant, big acts, like I remember I used to work at a venue in LA, and I worked a day that fucking 21 Pilots was playing, and a band that I think is utter dog shit, and they're a horrible band and really fucking lame. But their set was like this, it was a lot of production value. It was only a theater, but still, it was a big production value. They had all kinds of stuff going on, but even then it felt like that seems cool in like if you're a little kid going to like a local carnival kind of way. It doesn't feel like, oh fuck, these guys are going all out.
Like I'm 90s, at a rock show.
Yes, in the 90s, the shit Metallica was doing, it felt huge. It felt huge. Now this thing is just too risky.
For sure. Even like a band like Ghosts, who I haven't seen in a while, and I'm sure they're considered a more elaborate stage show. You just don't get it anymore. I think maybe like Slipknot will probably be the last metal band who can do that. I hope I'm wrong, but
there will be another wave one day. Doing it, who knows when? Could be decades from now. Could be right around the corner, but. It's just the way it goes. Waves, something will happen, but let's just hope we're around for it. That's what I would say. So now we have a little bit of a game. So Tom has sent us some quotes. I'm going to read the quote, and then we're going to have to guess who it is. I don't know if he means which band member or which person. I guess we'll find out after the first one, which pool. So you ready?
I'm ready.
Here we go. First quote says, when it was finished, I remember Lars came to LA. He was staying at the Sunset Marquee or one of those hotels and said, hey, come over. I want to play you the record. He played me the record, which I thought was amazing, but he didn't play me the famous ballad, Nothing Else Matters, until the very end. He played it for me and said, what do you think of this? I said, actually, it's a pretty good song. I remember at the time I told him it sounded like Jethro Tull for some reason, maybe because of the acoustics, but I could clearly tell though, when I heard the record, that it was going to be huge. That's clearly not a member of Metallica. So we're not playing that game. All right. Who the fuck said this? You have any idea?
So this is a random music.
It's got to be someone famous, someone involved in music.
No, that feels too. You're saying it's. I'm gonna say it's Jason because that sounds like madness. Like that could be like guessing anybody, and like he's no. It's got to be Jason.
It can't be Jason because he's heard the song. I watched them rehearse it. Like, there's no way it can't be.
I'm still picking Jason. I don't. This is a ludicrous game. If we're going outside of Metallica, it's just insane. I'm sorry, Tom.
Hold on. Let me think. Jim Martin. I'm from Faith No More.
Okay.
I'm going to guess Jim Martin. And the answer is Brian Slagle. Who the fuck is this? What the fuck is this?
You've lost your privilege to play games, Tom.
Brian Slagle is he founded Metal Blade Records.
Okay.
I'm curious about the rest of these though. I don't know how much we're gonna fucking land on these. Let's see. Ourselves, Judas Priest, and Pantera all reached a crossroads where we had the chance to really step up to the next level, but none of us had the balls to do it. And then Tom notes that Pantera did that twice.
Yeah. We talked about it. Also, I'd argue in terms of extreme music, I think this is the same year Painkiller came out.
Painkiller, really?
Oh, 1990. So the year before.
It's still way later than I thought it was. Holy
yeah.
crap.
So I'd argue in terms of like pushing extreme music that the Priest did, maybe, not in terms of commercial and how could you ever top Turbo Lover? I mean, it's not a great song, but anyways.
I need to get, I've heard like a highlight reel essentially of Priest. They've always
you'll probably hate it.
No, I've liked the stuff that I've heard.
Okay.
They slip past me. I tend to be very hit or miss with NWO BHM stuff, but I've always had a soft spot for what I've heard from them. But the quote, ourselves, Judas Priest, and Pantera all reached a crossroads where we had the chance to really step up to the next level, but none of us had the balls to do it. Metallica did, though. You have to give them huge credit for grabbing the opportunity when it came up, taking the risk, and deservedly reaping the enormous rewards. You cannot underestimate their achievement with this album. I
don't. There's too many bands. I don't fucking know.
Scott Ian.
Or
Scott Ian.
Sure, Scott Ian or someone in Alice in Chains. Let's go.
It was Bruce Dickinson. Okay, from Maiden. This is impossible. This game is impossible. It's
impossible.
There's actually several more. Okay, here's one. Here's a nice short one. Now that Metallica, read sarcastically, by the way, now that Metallica are wearing Misfits t-shirts, I think it's had a big impact on metal. Kurt Cobain, Danzig. And that was Kurt Cobain. You nailed it. Look at that. You got one. That's pretty impressive. I was actually wondering of Kurt Cobain's impression of this album and Metallica in general, because knowing how good his taste was, you can't really deny it, but also it doesn't seem like his bag at all.
Yeah, it's I'm sure he's had a comment on it somewhere, but also he Nirvana, this felt like, they carved out their own little bubble in the rock world.
Yeah, and of course it ended up being some sort of template for other bands to copy and look to as rock, even though it really started out as this offshoot of fucking noise rock. Yeah, interesting stuff, and it's just interesting how it all came together. But enough for the game for now, because we have so much more to tackle, and we are doing what we do on this podcast, and we talking. So obviously, this is both of our best and personal favorites. If you haven't heard it, you're probably not even older than, there's no age to this album. I was 5 when I heard it. People were hearing it when they're fucking little kids because their parents and their brothers. This is just an album everyone in the world has heard. It's just, I'm going to accept it as that. Everyone in the world has heard this album.
Everyone.
But moving on to an album that not as many people have heard, or maybe not in a while. They took a long break because they were touring. Lots and lots and lots of touring. They recorded little things here and there that we're going to get later on in compilations.
Also, real quick, on one of those tours, James got blown up on stage by that pyro that we were talking about.
He did get exploded on stage, and it burned his arms pretty badly, and he had to have a buddy. I forgot the guy who filled in on guitar. And for some reason, whenever he sang, he held his mic like that, like fucking Rob Zombie, and it was really stupid looking. But that happened. But he survived. You know, he made it out just like Michael Jackson did. So now we're on to the first of multiple semen and urine blood related to cover arts.
So funny.
I can't believe I never realized this until now. We're gonna talk about that. I did as a kid. I never. How often are you looking up factoids about load and reload when you're past your Metallica phase?
I always knew. I always knew.
I was 8 years old, dude. I don't fucking know this. So here we go. This is 1996's Load.
You know, this sounds pretty, like, inoffensive. Like, this could be cool.
Yeah, it's actually not even a bad riff. It's just so it's so cocky and fucky and dirty.
I really do not like a lot of his singing choices from here on out. Like, to this day.
He becomes James Hetfield.
Like, this is fun. This is fun.
I do like the chorus. Not this. Well, yeah, this chorus. I don't mind it.
I think this is hilarious.
It is funny. It's
Kiss
not
your ass
that
goodbye.
great, but I don't mind it. There's the fun progressions.
So useless.
I used to love this song as a kid. Now I'm like, this is fucking ridiculous hard rock. But I don't mind this.
I love this.
All right. Enough of that. All right. What a slap in the face to all the fans opening up with that song.
Man, maybe if it was a little short, but yeah, I don't. Man, this. Yeah, I would argue they've never recovered from this. They've developed a lot of bad habits here that they've never recovered from, and I think it does a disservice to the hard rock genre as like because
a disservice to the entire genre,
the whole genre. Because like when I heard this, I wanted like the raw, you know, uncut, like bass metal punk shit. But like as I've gotten older and I've gotten into like CCR and Clutch and The Cult, or even those great like Danzig albums, those are like great hard. And I think like if you have that, like, oh shit, like you hear Load and Reload, you're like, this is hard, or I don't want to fuck with that shit.
This is their
that's what I mean by it did a whole disservice to like the whole genre, because there are all those bands I listed do it extremely well, even like a Caius.
So in terms of this being like a hard rock record, the songs that do hard rock, I would have to agree are with everything you said, because like you're comparing a song like Poor Twisted Me to any song off the first 4 Danzig albums. Go fuck yourself. Like it's like so bad compared to that.
Mm-hmm.
But when these songs aren't doing that, when they're throwing in a little bit of metal, they're trying to throw in maybe something a little bit more melodic, or they're fucking with arrangements, they're experimenting with more instruments, I don't hate it nearly as much. Having said that, I'm giving this worst and least favorite. I don't feel strongly about that. I could easily give it to one after this. I could easily do that. I feel so similarly about both these albums. The reason I'm giving this one worse is because there's too much hard rock on here. Too much. At least the next album, they start dabbling with a couple other things. It's a little bit faster as an album. This is, first of all, it opens with "Ain't My Bitch," which I don't even hate the song, but god damn, that is really a sleazy bar rock song. And other songs that I will say this, that it's not a positive thing exactly, but it can be argued as though it is a positive thing. All of these songs, including the ones in the next one, are always stuck in my head. They are always fucking, whether I like it or not, dude. Bleeding Me has been stuck in my head for like the past fucking 7 hours.
Dude, the way he pronounces shit on like I can't. I'm sure you can because your brain's better. But like when he sings like this thorn in the tree is bleeding, like it's just so funny. It's so funny the way he like enunciates those words.
Dude, he's really going. There's a moment in the doc from the Black Album where James is doing vocal tracks and he's doing like the very tail end of the Unforgiven and doing the, whoa, he's doing all that stuff. And it could tell it's early in the session because he's like kind of figuring out what he's doing. And Bob Rock says, give me a little bit more, make it a little bit more Hetfield. And I guess that line, like that quote is ringing in my head. Like, man, he's giving it a lot of Hetfield.
A lot of Hetfield.
There's so much Hetfield on this album.
There's just too much Hetfield. I think the singles on this,
dude.
I like them.
Until Sleep, Here the Day, Mama Said, and King Nothing. Those are the singles.
Cut out Mama Said. I didn't realize that was a single. The singles for like 90s, like if these songs were like one hit wonder, like obscure bands, it would be like, hey, that band wrote an all right song. I wonder what happened to those guys. But because Metallica wrote these songs, it's like, it's the big shoes to fill. I think though, this is the album where if it was shorter, I think it'd be pretty decent.
I think both albums have merit. I think there was plenty of good things on both albums. The problem isn't, but in previous episodes of previous discographies, I would say a thing like, oh yeah, good songs, but it's just badly paced. It's not even that simple. It's so many songs have some of their coolest riffs on the album, sharing the song with some of the shittiest. And so many songs do that it ends up making the album feel longer. It ends up kind of tainting what could have been really good songs. The worst offender for that, for me, is the closer, the Outlaw Torn. It has what I think are some of the coolest verses, easily one of the best verses on the album, one of the best verses I think of the whole era. Like it's such a cool, it has this really menacing heavy bass, and James is singing in this really drawn out kind of weak language sounding vocal harmony thing. It's a very interesting, it's a really cool, interesting, really dark and menacing, but almost like a touch of psychedelic in there. Like it's a very cool section, but the big giant heavy choruses, fucking average at best. And it does that for almost 10 minutes, just hopping between the two. And it's like, I can't even appreciate how amazing this section is because of how much I'm forced to listen to the rest.
I agree wholeheartedly with you. Like with what you said about that. I agree exactly. I think a song that caught me off guard that I think I'm going to have to give it up to is The House Jack Built.
Oh, dude.
It starts off a little rough, but like a minute in, like that is some like cool, unique riffage going on.
That was, because I listened to these albums way too many times as a kid because it was all I had. That was my favorite song on the album when I was a kid. I still like it. I wouldn't say I'm in love with it the way I was as a kid, but it's still pretty fucking good. Those verses kick a lot of ass. It has a really, really cool talk box solo, which they've never done again, not to my knowledge. And it sounds amazing. Also, one of the many songs from this whole era that they've never played live.
Crazy. Yeah, it's probably an underrated song because these albums, and I'm not trying to say these are like they absolutely deserve the hate they get. I'm just like, I think there's something in here that maybe with some restraint and control could have been pretty noteworthy, or maybe not noteworthy, but like Until It Sleeps, like that's an A plus 90s song to me. A plus. But again, because it's Metallica, it's off. It's not right. But if it was some obscure like one hit wonder band, you'd be like, man, that song was amazing. These guys should have had a huge career. I have that like 3 songs in a row. Until It Sleeps, and then King Nothing is like same thing, but instead of 90s rock, like that's a great butt rock song, but it's Metallica. And then like Hero of the Day, I think is like kind of crazy what they're doing on a production level. But like if that was a Foo Fighters song, it'd be like an all-timer Foo Fighters song.
So out of those 3 singles, I remember liking all of them as a kid. Remember Until It Sleeps being like a highlight. I no longer like Until It Sleeps. I'm officially over Until It Sleeps. There's something about it that just irks me. For some reason, it's that song that is the poster child for this era. It's like that song is what I think of when I think of this whole era.
Interesting.
So yeah, it kind of leaves me a little bad taste. King Nothing is good as butt rock. I mean, that main riff, it works. And then Hero of the Day, I was so ready to fucking hate it. Like I was like, all right, no more childhood nostalgia, being grateful for the few songs I was able to buy a CD of. And then listening to it, I'm like, I like it more than when I was a kid. I like it. I think it's a very actually good song.
I think as an adult and, the fucking madness we subject ourselves to with this podcast, like it's a little bit easier to be like, that's objectively a good fucking song.
It is a good song for sure. There's also, I don't want to forget because we're going to get, we already have a bunch on this album. We're going to get a whole bunch more on the next album. The thing that they do a lot now is in the choruses, they'll do this build up thing and then all the instruments will choke and then James will scream the name of the song or scream something and then all the band comes back and they do that so much. They don't Ain't My Bitch. They do it on King Nothing. They do it all over the place. It becomes at a certain point, it feels really stupid. Like every other song you're going to be doing the same little, really?
Yeah. I didn't write down lyrics because it's just exhausting, but I think the lyrics are pretty fucking stupid on this album.
I don't think they're stupid. I think they're a little bit more personal, but I don't think they're not as, they're a little hard to take seriously. They feel a little bit more adolescent in a way.
But yeah, I think, if they cut a lot of songs after Bleeding Me and they trimmed a lot of them down, like you said, with Outlaw Thorn, you trim that down.
Or Torn, yeah.
You cut a lot of this other shit off. I think it'd be remembered more fondly, honestly.
There's a lot of things here that are really hurting it. And the reason I giving it worse, I already talked about Poor Twisted Me. It's hot garbage. I mean, it's really one of their worst songs ever. There's nothing I like about it at all. The intro to Wasting My Hate is fucking funny, dude. What is happening? It's so goofy. It sounds like shitty alternative. And then the verse sounds like a shittier hard rock version of Dyer's Eve. And overall, it's always stuck in my head and I don't like it. It's always stuck in my fucking head. Mama Said is, you don't like it. They are doing country, baby. Country Western, full on. You know
what? I was talking shit about it, and like, I'm going to throw that into a song that this needs some trimming because it's Metallica trying to be like Bob Seger, but it fares a lot better than, the previous 4 songs before it. Also, real quick, like Cures is like a knockoff Danzig song.
Yes, it is very. Some of the I don't mind the main riff. I'm kind of okay with the song overall, but boy, like there's so much Danzig in there, all the way down to like the bass hanging on one note during the verses. Like it's very, very, some of the vocal choices, obviously Danzig is like, it's just it's one of the 2 Danzig songs on the album. I'll get to the other one in a second.
It bothers me so much that like this is the era they should have been working with Rick Rubin, and then when they did work with Rick Rubin, which we'll talk about on the next one, it's like it's too late. All 5 of you are just like no one cares anymore.
I disagree. I think it was a good choice, and I think it worked out pretty well. I think it would have worked out probably better in this time period for sure. But for a song like Mama Said, I really don't remember liking it that much. And going back to it now, it's a well-written song. The country western instrumentation is pulled off convincingly. It is too long and it ends up boring me by the end, but I will give it up for the things that it does right, because it is a well-written song and it's fine. The stuff that is unforgivable is Thorn Within, which is just a shittier sounding Snakes of Christ by Danzig. And it goes on for 6 minutes. It's the filleriest of songs on this album.
The only good thing about that is that it attempts to bring some heaviness to the album, but this doesn't matter if it's a dog shit song, and it is a dog shit song.
I would categorize it as real shitty. The verses with the big toms and the "Forgive me, Father," it's like, man, it just sucks so bad. It just sucks so bad.
I think
Ronnie is like, oh, we're gonna be Nick Cave now, except it's gonna be way worse.
That is one of the most. Not sans Lulu. That's a different beast that I can't wait to talk about.
Oh, we're gonna talk about Lulu on the final part.
Ronnie is probably one of the most bizarre songs in their whole career.
Yes.
Like, I kind of like how ugly the riff is.
Yeah,
and
it's not a bad main riff in terms of hard rock stuff.
And when I was listening to it, I was like, you know what? If Clutch wrote this song, or like, even if it's the exact same song, but you have like the Clutch singer come in and do it, like Clutch would crush this song.
Mm-hmm. I remember liking it a lot as a kid. It's not a bad main riff. It's now what makes me not like it, and I do not like it. It is the whole package of like a Stagger Lee type song.
Mm-hmm.
It feels, but the way they're doing it here, it feels so cartoony, like over the top cartoony. Up to James's little monologue where he's, doing the spoken word thing with a little Southern twang. It just feels like, I know what you're inspired by, what you're trying to do. It feels too much like you're trying to do a thing. It doesn't really feel as authentic, which kind of brings me to this whole era, and the elephant in the room for me personally, the eyeliner, baby. Lars and Kirk are wearing eyeliner now. They have black fingernails. They have the fucking little that. And it's fucking stupid. And they're wearing leather pants now, and they're wearing like fucking fedoras. And they all have short hair, which I don't give a fuck if your hair is long or not, but it's the rest that, wearing like, I don't think they were actually wearing mesh t-shirts, but in my mind, they're wearing Danzig mesh t-shirts.
Yeah.
And apparently that was all Kirk and Lars. Like they're so focused on
the image.
Exactly. We have to reshape our image. There's a quote from James about it.
I think Kirk probably gets away with it a little better because he looks cool, but Lars is just a goblin. Like he's not going to look cool no matter what he's doing, let alone fucking like you gotta be kind of sexy to pull off leather pants, and that's just something Lars is not.
Oh, dude, it looks stupid.
Kirk is just Santana though, so he can pull it off, and now he's like turning into Santana.
Now he actually is just Santana. But I mean, much better aging Santana. But I before we filmed, because I haven't seen it so long, I thought, I'm gonna scrub through Cunning Stunts, the live DVD they did from '97. Because
I've never seen it.
I remember it having the best production value. It was shot like a movie, like they used film, like film cameras, and remember it's like being really well done. So I went back to it, and it still looks really good. They played it, I think they did it some arena in Texas, and the stage looks great. It's a really, it has a really good. It's shot really well. Kirk looks like a fucking tool, man. It's pretty cringy, but it was this whole thing where and it takes into account the cover art for this one and the next one, which were done by Andres Serrano. And again, all Kirk and Lars' idea. This quote from Hetfield, this is on the wiki. He says, Lars and Kirk were very into abstract art, pretending they were gay. I don't know exactly what he means by that, but it sounds funny. I think they knew it bugged me. It was a statement around all that. I love art, but not for the sake of shocking others. I think the cover of Load was just a piss take around all that. I just went along with the makeup and all this crazy, stupid shit that they felt they needed to do. So for those who don't know, Alex, would you like to do the honors of telling us what the cover of this album is?
It's blood and semen, and I don't know why I've always known that, but I've known it. And I mean, doing that and calling the album Load is so fucking juvenile.
It is funny now thinking about it. I never put it together.
It's always funny, but like they're a little bit older here. It's like, it's not. Also, do we have we get a talk about Godflesh for some reason on Metallica? Justin Broderick told Kirk about the guy who did this artwork.
That's right. He's the one who tipped him off to it. Yeah, of course. The guy
imagine they're this like trolling like that would be like I bet you can't get Metallica to put blood and cum on their album.
Watch me.
You
should listen to the band Blood Cum, which was started by Tom Arai's younger brother. Got a pretty cool thrash album, crossover thrash album from the early 80s. Anyway, or mid 80s. It's actually late 80s.
Check out our episode on what's the Neutral Milk Hotel if you like that stuff.
If you like Seaweed Neutral Milk Hotel, the band stinks, but boy, they
love singing about it.
Sure does. And here's the other quote about like the image stuff. James said, Lars and Kirk drove on those records. The whole quote, we need to reinvent ourselves topic was up. Image is not an evil thing for me, but if the image is not you, then it doesn't make much sense. I think they're really after a U2 kind of vibe. Bono doing his alter ego. I couldn't get into it. The whole quote, okay, now in this photo shoot, we're going to be 70s glam rockers. Like what? I would say at least half the pictures that were to be in the booklet, I yanked out. The whole cover thing, it went against what I was feeling.
Yeah, I mean, he's right. Some bands can get away with that. I understand a band wanting to reinvent themselves musically. I think there's ways to do that to stay true to your core. We've covered plenty of bands that do it. And we talked about how they're taking some big swings here, but I think when it's done on this superficial level, you end up with the product that we get.
Indeed. Yeah. It's flawed and kind of forced. And even though there's some great ideas here, the execution feels just so off. And this from the website is interesting. It says loose, powerful, and a confident step away from the Black Album. Load sold 5 million plus copies. So many strong songs were written. And Tom took a little break there to be like, what do you guys think about that? Obviously not great. That a second album, Reload, came in 1997. The tour was a menagerie of technological feats and tricks amidst cracking live performances across a massive stage set, all captured on the DVD release Cunning Stunts. So on Cunning Stunts, there was like a big old like fake, the stage is exploding kind of thing. And it is pulled off really well. Like you have guys falling off of ladders and James is pretending to like get hit with something and he falls on the floor. And then the whole stage gets torn apart. And at the end they have like floodlights, like orange floodlights are the only thing lighting up the stage and it looks super cool. And then they finish off like the encores with that kind of lighting and setup. So it's like, yeah, it was very, very well done.
I think when I get some money, I may try to pick that up I feel like it's kind of a spiritual successor. And I talked about it on was the film called Through the Never? It was like, they put it out in theaters.
Yeah.
Where it was like a movie. You're
talking about I still haven't seen that one.
I think it's pretty fucking underrated. I think when it was put out, people were kind of like burnt out on Metallica and tired of seeing them everywhere, so no one really saw it. But
when you eventually, it doesn't hurt to go back to the well every now and then.
yeah.
By the way, the Outlaw Torn was originally 10 minutes, 40 something seconds. That's the one they had to shave down to fit on the CD.
Dude, I still think if this was like a 50-minute album and some songs got axed and some of them trimmed, like, I think there's a decent hard rock album in here somewhere.
There is merit. Like I said before, there's merit to some of these songs. I genuinely like some of these songs. I love parts of others while also hating other parts of the same song, but it's just super flawed. But they're still Metallica. Like, you hear James still writes good songs. It's just everything else just is not coming together. There's too much twanginess, so many generic hard rock riffs that kind of flood the whole album. But it's time to play a little game. We have one quote here, and I love it, and I want to read it because it's a fucking hilarious quote. And I don't know if we can guess who this is, but I mean, this is the quote. Load is a terrible record. I just don't get it. If you're going to put out a record like that, just do a fucking side project of something, you know? Now, this could be anybody, including us, who have said this.
Kerry King.
I was going to say like James Hetfield, but he's clearly on record as hating side projects, which is the reason Jason Newsted left. Spoiler alert. Dave Mustaine.
Okay.
And that was Phil Anselmo. Damn. That's pretty good. I like that quote.
Also, it's funny because he did Down, and Down is a far superior hard rock band than these two albums. So
he put his money where his mouth is, at least with that. I mean, holy crap. It's funny to hear him say it's a terrible record, though. That's pretty funny.
That is pretty funny. Down 2 does suck, though, but 1 and 3 are good.
Not heard any Down, but one day. But until then,
you might hate it. You might hate it.
But yeah, I'm giving this worst and least favorite. It just has too many shitty generic hard rock elements on here. Whereas I can make a slight argument that they don't do that as much on this next album. But here is the next album. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Oh, I know damn well you're ready for this opening track.
Who isn't? It's an all-timer. I'm sorry.
Hell yes. This is 1997's Reload.
Give me fuel, give me fire, give me that which I desire.
Holy hell.
I hate when Mars does the he's all...
Yep. Fucking A, man.
Yeah. You know what's really song. You know what's really cool when it gets kind of dreamy, give me fuel, give me fire. That part's
And also the chorus rips, dude. The chorus actually rips.
Here we go.
Fuel is pumping engines.
I hate these lyrics. I hate these lyrics so much. He's just describing what a car does.
Hell yeah, dude. Pumps you up. Makes you want to drive fast.
Hell yeah, it does.
Oh, man.
Oh, you know what other part's cool in that, though? Ooh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I'm not giving this one worse. That's the big long and short of it. How do you feel?
I'm not gonna fight you on that because these are not good. It's not a hill I want to die on. Going into this, I was like, Load's getting worst least favorite because Reload has some edge on it. I fucking worst least favorite. Outside of 3 songs, I fucking hate everything on here.
What are the 3 songs?
The first 3.
Really? I mean, I agree. I agree that they're good songs. I have other exceptions, but go on. Keep going.
No, I hate everything after that. Nothing, like nothing comes back around to me. Like I love Fuel. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Memory Remains. It's like one of the like few songs that actually justifies Metallica performing with an orchestra later. Well, we're not going to cover those albums, but it's like it's really cool. I love how creepy Marie Faithfull's
Marianne Faithfull, yeah.
I love how creepy her old ass songs sounds on this.
Oh yeah.
Like,
also, Tom noted, which I didn't know, apparently Oxbow collaborated with her first.
Which balances it out, since Metallica famously ripped Oxbow off in using Marianne Faithfull in the way that they poorly did after we had done it. And the only reason I'm bitter about that, it needs to be said, is because they asked him on Headbangers Ball, where did you get the idea to use Marianne Faithfull? And they stumbled. And they could have thrown us a bone and say they got it from us, but they didn't. And they said, our manager came up with the idea. Our manager, who was friends with Oxbow's former bass player, Dan Adams. So I don't mind, on occasion, returning the favor.
Oh, shit.
Fucking blew my mind.
These guys are hanging out with Oxbow and Godflesh.
They have great taste. I mean, if you were to hear on the fucking covers, some of the stuff they chose for covers.
And then, yeah, Devil's Dance, I don't think Jason really gets enough time to shine, and it's one of those. I love how big and chunky and mean and this rules, and then boy oh boy, everything else is fucking.
So before we go into the rest,
let me the last positive thing I'll say is deep down inside this album, when you get to Where the Wild Things Are, I think there's some cool ideas there. I think that has potential to be a good song. It's like up there with The Outlaw Torn.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, but after that I have nothing nice to say about this album.
So I'm going to tell you something. The reason, the main reason I gave Wars to Load was because of the hard rock stuff. Whereas I felt this album was a bit more adventurous. The reason that kind of sealed the deal is because Where the Wild Things Are, I think, is my favorite song out of all out of these two albums by far. I think it's the best song by far of both Load and Reload. I think it's a brilliant song that's left field. You never would have guessed it was a Metallica song. Even the heavy parts don't feel like Metallica. It's beautiful and and melodic, but in a very unusual kind of. It doesn't sound like it, but it reminds me of the song "Strange Light" from Fugazi from their last album, The Argument, where it's like it's just haunting, weird melody that feels unsettling but melancholy at the same time. You can't really pinpoint a mood to it. It feels just odd, but it's still pretty. And I think the vocal performances there are really well done. I think the progressions and arrangements are extremely well done. And of course, it has never been played live. The most interesting song they've done since the fucking Black Album, I think, and they never touch it again.
That song is this album's The House That Jack Built. Those are like these two weird outlier songs.
I would argue that Where the Wild Things Are is one of their most underrated songs ever. Like, I think it's that. I think it's a genuinely great song on an otherwise really not great album. But to go to the first three tracks, all three of them do the break, the acapella break on the chorus.
Yeah, they do.
All three of them do that in a row.
But the memory remains.
But they're all great songs. They're all interesting. Memory Remains is a little bit more butt rocky, but the Marianne Faithfull section is undeniably catchy. Despite the fact that it's a little melodramatic and a little hokey, it's still really catchy as shit. Now let's spend the next hour talking about The Unforgiven Dose. All right.
Hopefully it's only under 5 minutes. It's garbage.
I don't think it's garbage. I think it's way worse. Yes.
If you like some twang in your Unforgiven, if you like stupider lyrics. So they figured out a way to say Unforgiven 2 in the song, and
it's hilarious.
That alone makes it worth listening to. But the other funny. I don't know why when he says, "If you can understand the me, I can understand the you."
The you, baby, the you.
So fucking funny. So fucking funny.
I used to love that song as a kid. I find the verses to be insanely forgettable and kind of lame. That chorus, I like the chorus. Shoot me. I like the chorus. That's why I give it a pass. I'm okay with it because the chorus is, the rest of it is so like generic and like faceless and kind of not great. But they play the chorus so much more than everything else in that song. It just sort of lingers longer. I'll give it that it's probably mostly nostalgia, but yes, it is much shittier than the Unforgiven one.
Yes.
Now here's a fun little fact. How often in music would you say that a band has never once played one of their singles live?
Oh, that's got to be pretty rare. But
it's got to be pretty rare. Guess which song on this album is that? Is a single and has never been played live.
I didn't even know there were singles outside of the is fucking Prince Charming a single? I don't know.
No, but it also has never been played live.
Yeah.
You know what the single is?
What's that?
And fucking try to wrap your head around this one. Better Than You.
Dude, that song sucks so bad.
So bad. So bad.
I'd rather listen to the worst songs on load than Better Than You.
I don't know if I might agree. I don't know if I would agree entirely. I do agree that it's really, really, really bad. It's hilariously forgettable. Every riff stinks.
Oh man, these are long fucking songs. It is a slog to listen to.
There is stuff that I don't like, but I can find things in it, like Slither. Aside from the main riff being a complete shitty ripoff of Enter Sandman, which is pretty bizarre that they're already ripping off their own song only 2 albums later. But there's this pre-chorus there that have these kind of flanger vocals and these heavy toms that I like. There's a lot of interesting kind of Beatles sounding vocal harmonies, especially with the effects that are used. It has equal amounts bad and good in it. It's one of those types of songs. I just was okay with it enough to give it a pass. I could say the exact same thing, almost everything, about Carpe Diem Baby, except it doesn't work for me. It has equal parts that I like and equal parts that I don't like. Overall, it just ended up, I just didn't work for me. Like, there's so many songs like that on here where I can pick out a bunch of riffs that I enjoy in a song that's not great.
I hate Carpe Diem Baby. Carpe Diem Baby. If they didn't release albums after this, that would go down as like one of their stupidest lyrics. But
it's not great. It's definitely not great.
But they wrote a song where they say frantic tick 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 tock, among other things.
Yeah, my lifestyle determines my death style, for sure.
There it is. That's the one I was looking for. Yeah. Come squeeze and suck the day. Come Carpe Diem Baby. I hate it so much.
Another song that is always stuck in my head. I wish it wasn't. More pretty shitty generic hard rock with Bad Seed. I like parts of the pre-chorus, but other than that, that's when it broke me. That'll break you. Yeah.
And I was like, there's how much? Excuse me, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah. That one and Prince Charming are basically, there's this whole chunk of album where it's alternating between a really generic high energy hard rock song and a song that gets a little bit more adventurous. Where the Wild Things Are follows Bad Seed, way more adventurous and more interesting. And then Prince Charming follows that, which is about as bland as Bad Seed. And following that, we get Low Man's Lyric, which I know you hate, but how do you feel?
I don't love it, but I will say at least it's something different. It's a Pogues ass fucking song. It's
very folky.
It's way too fucking long.
7.5 minutes. Yes, it's way too long.
Like, okay, you guys have an idea there. Fucking refine it. It's not
exactly it.
It's not refined. It's just thrown out there and played far too long.
It's very folky. It's got a hurdy-gurdy on it. I didn't even know what a fucking hurdy-gurdy was, but it's one of those.
I didn't even know that was a real thing. I thought it was just a song. Was it Donovan, Hurdy-Gurdy Man?
Oh, well, yeah, that makes more sense. Yeah, like you said, very pogsy. It has an Irish feel to it. Maybe it doesn't sound like the Pogues are a punk band, essentially, but it's got an Irish feel to it. And it's the only song that I can think of where they dip into that kind of folk territory. And it has moments that are really good. Like there's this section that they return to the first time they played. It's at 3:40. Great, awesome little section. But it's 7.5 minutes and it's dancing between it has good elements, but really it could have been shaved down and fine tuned and it has good ideas. It's adventurous. It's something completely different where I appreciate it. I give it a pass, but I don't even feel good about giving it a pass. I like it, but I don't like it. Like I said about almost every other song here, I like it just as much as I don't like it. So it's hard to enjoy anything on this album.
It's so funny how as older people were like, yeah, sure, be adventurous, do something different. Just don't fucking suck at it.
Don't suck at it. Yeah.
Which is easier said than done, but
yeah. And it closes with Attitude Stinks. I mean, yeah, it's another one. It's following the formula of following a more interesting song with a fast generic hard rock song. And the closer is Fixer, which it's not a terrible main riff. It really reminds me of a Pain in the World by Danzig. Of not as interesting, but it's long and I don't like the choruses and it just hammers on the same few sections over and over again.
You're exhausted. You're exhausted by the time it comes around.
Yeah. I feel so much the same about this album as the last album, but this one has Where the Wild Things Are, which rules. And honestly, 4 songs in a row up top that I like.
Mm-hmm.
All right, I'll take that. But yeah, I just like that it did more. It did more things. It just did more things. It's not that they all landed. It tried more things. It is more interesting. And it showed that they can I keep talking about Where the Wild Things Are, but it's like there was a whole thing there that you could have developed, a whole style, a whole type of song they just never returned to and just completely just ditched.
You know what I might do?
With that?
I might take the songs I like from both these albums, put them in a playlist, and try to arrange them in a way that makes sense to my brain.
Not only is that not a bad idea, I'm sure you know, this was supposed to be a double. This was supposed to be a fucking Load and Reload was supposed to be one album. Are you fucking high, dude?
No, that would technically make them four discs long because in vinyl, they're probably...
Oh, yeah, we quadruple album for vinyl, yeah.
They're already double album. Double albums weren't fucking always 70 minutes, or they were, but then CDs came and whatever.
Yeah, essentially doubled the length of everything CDs. And I think the reason they didn't release it as a double album or double disc or whatever.
Money.
Well, see, that's one way to do it. I think, and I do kind of believe their reasoning, which was, 2 logical reasons. One of them is the songs off Reload weren't done yet and they wanted to take a break from the studio. And then also if it was that long, it would have bombarded the listener. I think Kirk said it would have bombarded the listener, which it would have.
it already does.
Does. They're both 2 of the longest albums they've ever made. It's obviously going to bombard the listener. Thank Christ it's not one album, but also it could have been one album. Just shave off a good fucking ton of these shitty.
All the shit.
It could have been one probably deep, 7 to 8 out of 10. Honestly, I think this could have been a solid 8 if it was one album, shaving off all the bullshit.
I agree. And you know what? I don't know if that's the take a lot of people have because I'm sure, it's the internet. People create content. I'm sure other people have tackled it, but it's not a take I've ran into in the world. I haven't been talking to anyone about Metallica and they're like, you know what? Between Load and Reload, there's one good album in there.
There really is. And that's the crazy because there's so many good ideas. There's so much fat though. And there's a lot of trying to you could feel listening to these and looking at the art, cover art and all this stuff, the inside sleeves and all that of a band that reached their peak and is wondering what to do next, how to make it not fucking cheesy, how to make it not like you're retreading your shit and trying to repeat yourself, trying to move forward artistically. That's true to you, while also like trying to stay relevant in a kind of way. Like you see all these things that they were like, oh man, we have a lot of pressure on our back, and they just fucking fumbled it so hard. It's wild, man.
Also, we should say creatively fumbled it, because despite all that, they still sold. I mean, is at the point. I mean, they're still at the point where they could fart in a jar and people are gonna like. I think we were like in the minority last year.
Last year with their latest album, yeah.
Like,
we weren't big on that album.
My like brain exploded when I was seeing like some of the reviews about it, and it's just. It's like I love Metallica. They shaped so much of what I think is good music and the music that I like. And I don't know, it feels like a disservice to this be like, no, these albums are actually good.
Yeah. It's not fair, because we know how we're not stupid. We know how good they are. We know how good they've been. So also, hearing stuff like 23 Seasons, it was just like, man,
my bar for old man bands is actually kind of low. Like it's
that is true. You do like your old man shit, man. You appreciate those reunion albums a lot more than I do.
The Stooges album, I'm for it. But
Ready to Die, man. Holy crap, that's how I feel when I listen to it.
So yeah. Anyways, that's my rant.
Yeah, Alex's worst and least favorite, and now we have. Yeah, it's the last thing we're covering here. It's so long. It's probably fairer to cover this in parts, because each disc is, I mean, for one, they're recorded at very, very different time periods. The first disc is 1998. The second disc opens with 87, I believe, and then tackles a bunch of years. This is the covers album. I remember when this came out very vaguely, and this was very fun to go back to. Interesting stuff. But are you ready?
I'm ready.
This is 1998, Garage Inc.
I don't know why.
Discharge cover.
I don't know why someone burned me a copy of this, and I thought like the lyrics were missing for some reason.
Oh yeah.
I thought there was like verse, chorus, verse. But yeah,
it goes a while before vocals come in.
Yeah.
It does hit pretty damn hard.
No, this rules.
It's great. I've never heard the original. I've only heard little bits of Discharge, but they're a band that I've been neglected for too long.
I saw, like, when I was getting into vinyl, I saw the vinyl, and, like, just knowing this song, I was like, that's good enough for me. So, like, I just bought the album based off just hearing this.
Oh, shit.
Also, why can't James sound this angry on the last two albums?
Not even close.
I don't even think, like, this probably like his death knell right here. He's never gonna sound this angry.
I know. Totally. So this first half was recorded in 1998, and you could tell the guitars are down-tuned. The production's all big and fat. James is singing like James. The collection of songs here is very interesting and cool. I don't think a lot of it lands, but the stuff that lands, I think, is pretty damn good, like weirdly good.
I agree. And they never like really like reinvent the songs, but I think this is one of the greatest cover albums ever. This because of the amount of cool shit it introduced me to as recently as this year. I'm still like, we got like almost throughout this 2-disc album, we got like a Diamond Head album in here.
Yeah. So
Which you could check out on our Patreon. We cover that, and like I don't know
Light
why
of the Nations.
I don't know why it took me so long to listen to that, because Metallica definitely owes a huge debt to those guys, and I'm glad they almost covered the entire album.
I know. Yeah. This album, like you, led me to many other purchases,
Mhm.
and lots of stuff here that I ended up seeking out. And
Yeah.
so just talking about the first disc alone, like this one, okay, out of the 2 discs, this is like the not good one. Disc 2 is where it's at. We'll talk more about that after, but this one has like the more eclectic selection of songs, which I'm like, well, that's a pretty interesting collection there. It's not bad, but I don't like how they pull them up. I adore Nick Cave. Loverman is one of my favorite Nick Cave songs. I loved this cover as a kid because I didn't know who Nick Cave was as a kid.
Yeah.
Now I hate this cover.
I still like it.
Really?
It's just so like, there's a few of those where it's like they're covering who, and like I didn't like go to like buy a Nick Cave album as a young man, but I think it definitely laid the groundwork for when I eventually got into him, and I think it's a cool cover.
It's a good song. I mean, Loverman is such a great song that it's almost, if you're a talented bunch of dudes, it's kind of hard to make it not a good song, even if I don't like how, because like James's delivery for like the spoken word bridges is just like, oh man, it's so James Hetfield. He's bringing so much fucking twang and.
Let me get some more Hetfield.
Dude, too much Hetfield in the headphones, dude. It's you need to lower that Hetfield a little bit. It turns, because Loverman the original it's such a more like, not morbid, but like it's like a powerful and painful and sultry song. This has like this weird Western tinge to it.
I don't know. I'm for it. Like, Kurt Cobain was joking about the Misfits thing earlier, and I'm sure I would have got into them eventually, but I think this definitely accelerated my interest in the Misfits, because I think Die 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 My Darling and
Die Die My Darling, yeah,
and Green Hell / Last Caress, at the time when it was like new to my ears, those songs like stuck out the most to me.
Yeah, I was huge into them. I loved this version of Die Die My Darling. Now I hate it. I dislike it. You just feel so cleaned up and fast, and like it really rubs me the wrong way.
It's an interesting album, because now that I like a lot of these bands, there's not really a reason for me to revisit this album, but I just can't, and I hope that it's still introducing, people who listen to Metallica are still eventually getting around to this and then being like, oh, this is this band. And that, so I hope it's still doing it, because I think that like doing more obscure songs, not all the bands are obscure, but like they could have covered Paranoid or Iron Man, and that would have been fucking boring, but they did. Yeah.
They did Sabracadabra, but they also split it with what is it called? A National Acrobat.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a split between the 2 songs, which is like that's perfect. I mean, I still like the originals more, but yeah, fucking why not? The beginning of Sabracadabra and then the rest of it with a National Acrobat. That's fucking rules. It's a good cover.
And then as a young man, when I was still developing my tastes and I didn't have any, and I thought, sleazy, seedy things were like peak art cinema. I just thought that also, as a young man, you take your hot stripper women where you could get, this is like before you could stream things. So like
MTV,
man, I thought the Turn the Page video was just like phenomenal. I was like, it's got like a naked lady in it, but like
I never saw the video for it. Never.
Dude, like I should have rewatched it, but I don't want to like speak, but it's just like, instead of, and like the parallels between this working stripper trying to like feed her kid with like a band on the road just work so good. I don't know how it holds up, but in my head it's like a phenomenal like a little bit out of the box music video, and you get teenage boys by having it be about a naked lady, but it is very seedy and real.
Yeah, at least back in the day. Nowadays, all teenage boys have fucking bukakis at their fingertips, unfortunately. But
and yeah, you can just see Nicki Minaj and Cardi B like naked at the Grammys. So, and I'm not knocking that. I am not knocking that.
I'll knock it a little bit because I hate their fucking music, but to each their own.
That's neither here
neither here nor there. Yeah, fair enough.
Here nor there.
Turn the page. I remember I loved that fucking cover as a kid. Now it's like, oh yeah, it's just Bob Seger. I'm not really super big on the song.
I think I do like the Metallica version more though.
Yeah. There's plenty of that. I think more so. Well, I was gonna say more so on the second disc, but here stuff that I wasn't expecting to fucking love. The Merciful Fate medley covers.
Ooh,
dude,
yeah.
Excellent. Check out our episode of Merciful Fate, episode 2, which is before we had video, and you're gonna have a hard time finding it because it's way back in iTunes or Spotify or whatever. But
damn, what a medley!
Incredible. They picked how many songs? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Shocker. 6 amazing Merciful Fate songs, and just made it the fucking the coolest parts of each one. It's an 11-minute track, but and for anybody who's off put, understandably so, by King Diamond's vocals, James sounds amazing on it. It's fantastic track.
Great, but yeah, that is one of those things. I guess you get something different by having it be a melody, and in a way, it's like the best of the best in like 10 minutes. But I love his vocals, so
I still love the early Merciful Fate albums, and I've grown to really appreciate King Diamond for sure. But this is so much more like, it's just easier on you. It's like there's no like understanding that, oh, this is King Diamond, this is what he does, let's get used to it. There's none of that. There's none of like that initial hurdle. So it really is a perfect introduction to Merciful Fate. Is this
I would agree with that. I would agree with, that's fair. And then going back to like the Sabbath, and like Blue Oyster Cult's not as big as Sabbath, but like I feel like a lot of bands would have done like Don't Fear the Reaper or Godzilla, and they're out here doing fucking astronomy. Yeah.
I don't love it. I'm not a lot, but it's just more of a knock on the song itself. I don't love the song. I don't think it's a bad cover.
Blue Oyster Cult was like the first metal / hard rock band, probably more hard rock band, where I was like, these guys are fucking nerds.
Yes. Yeah. I know very little about them, but I've always gotten that impression as well.
Yeah. And then, cover of a cover, Thin Lizzy's version, A Whiskey in a Jar, and like, we love us some Thin Lizzy.
Check out episode 50, Thin Lizzy. We love us some Thin Lizzy, although that wasn't an album track, that was a single. It's like on the bonus tracks of Vagabonds of the Western World or something. But man, that I remember when I first heard that when it was just released, and I was like, oh, this is the perfect. I still love this cover. It's still a fantastic cover.
It is funny hearing James say, what are the fucking...
Give me a verse, baby. I know all those lyrics.
When I was going over.
Oh, it is funny hearing him say daddy-o and stuff like that. Whack for my
daddy-o. Whack for my daddy-o.
Still prefer Thin Lizzy's version.
Yes.
What this has that Thin Lizzy doesn't have. Thin Lizzy surprisingly doesn't have a bass on their version. It's just acoustic guitar and electric guitar. This one has a big bottom end. They change like the main riff a little bit to make it a little bit less abrasive sounding. They change like one note. It's a very cool song. James does a solo. So Whiskey in the Jar is one of my favorite. The Thin Lizzy Whiskey in the Jar is one of my favorite solos ever. It's just a very pleasing thing. There's something very pleasing about it.
Yes, very, very different songs. But again, it probably laid the groundwork for my love of Thin Lizzy. So
yeah, sure did. I remember when I first heard the Thin Lizzy version after this, and I was severely disappointed. I would have been too. Yeah, I was like maybe 9 years old. I was like, "What the fuck is this shit? They're playing it wrong. They're playing the wrong notes."
Yeah, it's not hard.
It's a much weirder song. It's still quite beautiful though. okay, you hate Leonard Skinner. I'm not going to argue with you
Mhm.
about that, but I've always defended Tuesday's Gone, and I will go to bat for this cover of Tuesday's Gone.
I hated that when I was younger. It was a skip most times. But you know what? Probably one of the better cover songs on the whole album.
It's real good. It's 9 minutes, and I don't mind it.
Yeah, Skinner, that's a short song for the band that wrote Freebird.
Yeah,
But there's,
Yeah.
I don't know, there's like sense of camaraderie and just a bunch of dudes hanging out here. Oh yeah, we got
Yeah. Dude, it's star-studded.
we got Pepper from Corrosion of Conformity and Down.
Yep.
Jerry Cantrell.
And Sean Kinney from Alice in Chains.
Yep, Jim Martin.
Fucking Jim Martin, Faith No More. John
Fucking
Popper, who I can do without.
Blues Traveler.
Yeah.
And fucking Les Claypool
Episode on Primus, check that out.
play.
As well as Gary from Leonard Skinner.
Yes. So, yeah, I don't know. There's this. It's this a star-studded, wholesome affair.
Yeah, it's super wholesome. It's super. It really feels like and not just because Adam Sandler loves this type of music. It feels like the last scene of a Sandler movie. And
Yeah.
Tuesday's Gone was used in the beginning of Happy Gilmore, the original.
There you
Tuesday's
go.
Gone. But it just feels like that kind of. It feels like, oh yeah, all the gang is back together. The revenge is
Yep.
over. Now it's time to live happily ever. That's what that song feels like. It's so wholesome.
Yep, I agree with that.
And then they cover it. They close the first disc with another Discharge cover. The More I See. So you said you bought that album based purely on this. What do you think of Discharge?
I mean that's the only album I have. It's great. I love. I mean it's definitely more raw and punk rock sounding, and like it's The More I See is crazy. How much just like it. I would just. If I didn't know it was a cover album, I would say, "Oh, it's just a Metallica." It sounds so much like Metallica. So like crazy how much they like pulled from bands and like made it that quote unquote Metallica sound.
Yeah, I the only thing that would give it away as not a Metallica song is just how simple it is, how simple the verse and choruses are. Like, because they kind of go from one to the next. There's no bridges or transitions.
Yeah.
But other than that, it would fit in on the Black Album. It's really that fucking good.
Absolutely would.
Yeah, I heard the original The More I See years ago, but it was like once, and I remember there being like really high vocals. I don't remember. I've heard Discharge. I've heard like a lot of the stuff. I mean, it was like 15 years ago when I heard it, so I don't remember it at all. But it's a band I really need to give some more love to.
I am amazed with your the album Hear Nothing Say Nothing is this fucking great. It's
Nice.
the opposite of Metallica. Or let me say 90s Metallica. It's just 28 minutes of great punk music.
Beautiful. Love it. Love hearing that. Love hearing that below 30-minute runtime. Oh. Also at the end of The More I See, there's like there's a chunk of silence, and then there's like a snippet of apparently a song, a cover from Robin Trower called Bridge of Sighs. It's like a little bluesy, jammy thing. It's fine, but it's like a secret track type, secret song type of thing. Goes on for a few minutes. So that's like the last thing we got from Metallica, like recording new material for a while, until like I disappear for Mission Impossible 2, pretty much. Because the second disc, I'm going to intro the second disc because it's a compilation. It's not even, it's a compilation of, what are the records? They are
Garage Days Revisited.
Yeah, the 598 EP, Garage Days Revisited, the B-sides to the Creeping Death single, the random B-sides and one-offs from 88 to 1993, and then a live radio, or was it a radio? It was a live performance at a studio called Motor Headache, which was, it was on the B-side of like the Hero of the Day singles or something like that from 96. So it's a compilation all over the map, different years, but it opens it up with this bad boy. one of the coolest fucking covers.
And again, if you didn't know any better, it's this soft like Kill 'Em All, right?
Yep. It sounds like Kill 'Em All recorded during Justice. I like this Metallica's version of the chorus more than the original, because if you think back to the original, was it Brian? No, Brian Tyler was a guitar player. I forgot the name of the Diamond Head vocalist, but he's a very waily singer, and he just sings helpless double the amount of times that James does, and then it's kind of exhausting. But I would say this disc of this album is my favorite covers album. It's, for some reason, kind of required listening for Metallica fans.
I didn't even think about like breaking it down disc by disc, so I don't like feel as strongly.
But it's just so long that it's safe to break them up. It's because as a kid, when I had this, I fucking lost disc 2. So I heard disc 1 way more times, and then going back to this way later and being like, "Oh, this is the one, baby. This has everything." There are 2 tracks with fucking Cliff Burton on here, which I didn't realize.
I didn't know that either.
Am I even Blitzkrieg? Both have Cliff on them.
I will say I guess there's 3 bands I still need to look up. Like I'm familiar with most, but like the Small Hours really like took me by surprise. Like I need to check out Holocaust because like I love how creepy that is. It's just like kind of unique for Metallica.
Oh yeah, that intro is the creepiest thing that they've ever done. And then the song itself, dude, man, it's so great. Such a great main riff. And yeah, it's by Holocaust, who I think are they? I think they're an NWO BHM band. A lot of these are those types of bands, which I tend to be like a little skeptical of those because it's just not my style. I can appreciate how good the songs are, but the style is usually what turns me off.
Man, it's so crazy.
So I love that cover.
Yeah, most of this band or Holocaust.
Yeah.
Damn, they're still going too.
Holy crap, they are.
Yeah, they
Last
don't even
in 2019.
They don't even have like Wikipedia entries for most of them. So
yeah, they're really like, so with the first disc had, we're going to tackle all these different crazy genres that we like all over the map. This is in the underground aggressive music kind of vein, but it's still diverse. The fact that they cover The Weight from Killing Joke is amazing. I'm so happy that exists. Metallica covering a Killing Joke song. That blows my fucking mind.
That's up there with like covering Nick Cave for me. And similar to the what was the last dish? The More I See, like it sounds like a Metallica song, but it's Killing Joke of all fucking bands. Like
it feels fantastic. Yeah, because I'm obviously a big Killing Joke fan, and I still love the original way more. But what this one does, it has this just chunkiness to it. It adds this metal edge to it with a song that's not metal, and then it adds double kicks in the chorus, which I don't think it fits quite as much, but it's still a very big, cool section. It's such an unorthodox cover of a band that sounds nothing like Metallica, at least until like the early 2000s when they went metal, when Killing Joke went metal. That was pretty cool, but different band.
Crash Course and Brain Surgery and Bread Fan, like, I don't know why those 2 songs, I was like, what is this Bugsy band? And I think they're so fucking underrated. Like Bread Fan is so good. Like Red Hot Chili Peppers ripped that off.
Oh, I mean, it is a good. If Bread Fan along with M.I. Evil are like all right, they're just Metallica songs now. Like they've they've sort of stolen them almost.
Yeah, I think there is merit in the Bugsy version of Bread Fan, though, and Red Hot Chili Peppers will pay for their crimes. I don't even think they credited that fucking song to Bugsy. I feel like they should.
Wait, which song are you talking about?
All Around the World.
Oh, see, my distaste for Red Hot Chili Peppers, it seems to have no ends.
Yeah, not the part where he does the kind of like racist Chinese vocal part.
That was hilarious. I defend that. That's the only part of the entire band that I defend is him being racist.
Let me see if there's like, and to me, it's like, I don't know. It's not even like similar. I'm like, that's Bread Fan. How, like, has no one, anyways, I digress.
I've never heard much. I've never heard almost any Bugsy. I heard the original Bread Fan. You know where?
Where?
The video game Brutal Legend.
Oh, you know
Was
what?
that your house?
Probably, yeah.
It was probably at your house. Yeah.
We were playing that.
Yeah. Years and years ago.
That would be the video game to have Bugsy on it. But anyways, I just wanted to give Bugsy some love.
Yeah. I definitely an overlooked band. And both songs rule. I mean, Crash Course, man, that's a fucking tongue twister. Crash Course and Brain Surgery. Yeah, that's one I always forgot about. I think my brother liked that one a lot, oddly enough. Growing up. Yeah, it's both tracks rule. Then yeah, The Last Caress and Green Hell. We've heard Misfits a million times. We check out episode of the Misfits from a million years ago, episode 11.
And then I always thought it was like interesting to play that weird, ugly Maiden part, but it works.
Oh, the very end, it's Run to the Hills, but they play it wrong.
Yeah.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think I read on the wiki that Maiden responded to it. Yeah.
Did they?
It says they responded to this on a B-side cover of the Montrose song titled Space Station Number 5.
No one listens to that.
Yeah, what the fuck are you talking about, dude? That was Chinese to me. Yeah, call back. And they're cool covers. They're fine. Obviously, it just sounds like Metallica playing Misfit songs. Am I Evil? This version of Am I Evil is superior than. I tend to prefer the originals for most. This is Am I Evil? This is the version. It's got the original Metallica lineup. It has the full song. They don't chop it in half like they started doing live. That's the one.
Yep. I think they may even play it to this day. Like you can just slip it into their set list seamlessly. I remember finding out Stone Cold Crazy was a Queen song and my like head exploded.
Pretty heavy for a Queen song.
Yeah. And the other one's a little goofier because it is Queen, but if you want like straight up get amped, no funny business, this is the version to go to. It's
a great version. It's a really great version. Actually, I'm not a big Queen fan. I tend to feel like they're one of the more overrated bands in rock music, but it's still a great song on its own, and this version rules. Blitzkrieg, I've already mentioned. I fucking love that song. I love it so much.
So good, yeah.
Their cover of The Prince, another Diamond Head one. I actually really prefer the original over this one. I think it's a good song. It's a good cover, but I think the original has like this something to it.
The greatest song on this whole 2-disc album, 12-year-old me thought this was the greatest song ever written. I heard it on a drive from San Diego to LA, and it probably like cemented my love of Metallica. Is So What?
So fucking what?
Hearing a grown man singing about sucking an old man's cock was just
So what?
The funniest thing. The funniest. Of course, it's a band from England.
Anti-Norway League. Band.
I've been to Brighton. I've been to East Point too. And man, I was just so tickled by it. It's still funny, but like
it still makes me laugh. It is hilariously vulgar. It is, but yeah, I love it. I don't know what to fucking tell you. I mean, it's great.
It's amazing.
Anti-Norway League is another band in the punk band that I neglected. They fell under the camp of, as a stupid teenager, too many of the people I don't like listen to them. I'll get to them later. And I never got around to them. So that's my only excuse for not listening to them sooner. But
I do think the Motorhead covers are the weakest part.
Those should have been chopped. chopped completely.
No, I'm a fan of like they're there. You got space. This is a compilation album. The completionist in me is a fan of including them. But yeah, like it's fun with Overkill. Stone Dead Forever is not as good. And then Damage Case, I'm pretty sure that's this friend of the podcast, Matt Berlinski, singing that.
Dude,
it's the most Matt Berlinski.
He was on our Danzig episode and our Slayer episode. Shout out to Matt. But these Motorhead covers were recorded live, and you could so brutally tell by the end that it's live because James's voice is done.
Gassed out. Yeah.
He's gassed out.
Yeah.
And the interesting thing about all these covers is that they're playing them like Motorhead, which I was very surprised by going back to it.
Yeah, and I think that's probably why Overkill is the strongest one. Just because
I prefer. Well,
but yeah,
I think Overkill probably sounds the strongest. I prefer Stone Dead Forever just because I like the song originally more. I mean, these Motorhead songs are the reason I discovered Motorhead at 9 and went out and bought Motorhead albums. So they worked. I'll give it that.
Probably important until Tony Hawk came again. My generation. But yeah, once Ace of Spades hit Tony Hawk, Motorhead didn't. Yeah, forget about Metallica money. They got Tony Hawk money.
Yeah. And these going back to this compilation, like this disc 2 would have been like a perfect covers album if it wasn't for the Motorhead chunk at the end. Like as much as I like Motorhead and as much as I found the band because of these songs, also it is, pardon the pun, overkill. Yes. Yeah,
I think there's this something so magical about Lemmy's voice, like Stone Dead Forever. Like I just want to hear Lemmy. Check out our Probot episode.
Oh yeah, forgot we had a little bit of Lemmy on the pod. Also, we skipped over Killing Time. It's fine. It's another NWO BHM cover.
Oh yeah, Sweet Savage. That's a band I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, apparently, like one of the guitarists from Def Leppard was in an early version of the band. It's like Irish band, Irish heavy metal band. Yeah, it's fine. It's cool. I don't like it as much as some of the other ones, but it's nothing. There's nothing wrong with it. Also, it's really interesting hearing like it was with Brad Friend that it hit me where the I don't know where it was. It just says it's a B-side. I don't know. It had to have been the Justice sessions because it's the and Justice for All production and vocal style playing Bread Fan, which is like a crazy simple song. So like hearing Justice production and Justice vocals playing a song that simple is actually kind of bizarre.
It is bizarre. It was a B-side to a Harvester of Sorrow single.
Makes sense. There we go. Yeah, the production is it's the same sessions. It sounds just like it. It's crazy. But
yeah, they were probably like burnt out from writing though. You need to like something rocking like Bread Fan.
Something rocking. It's also interesting hearing the bass on the Garage Days Revisited EP because that's technically the first thing Jason was on with the band. And yeah, it sounds, a little rough. It sounds a little stripped down, but I prefer it over the Justice production of only guitar and drums. But whatever. Yeah, it's good comp, good cover album. First half, I think, has a lot more problems than the second half, but yeah, holy shit, man. We done did it. After this, the band went on to do fucking S&M. I think that was 99. That was your introduction to them, right?
Yeah, that was like no, I probably heard Garage Inc. on that drive, and I thought it was funny, but then like they were playing S&M a lot on MTV, and there was this, I don't know, there's something about it where I was like, I like this band. I need to hear everything about need to hear all their shit. Yeah. And now I'm paying for my sins as an adult.
Literally hearing all this shit.
And then they recorded their greatest song of the 90s, / early 2000s for the Mission Impossible 2 soundtrack.
Hey.
Here I go now.
And I went on down that road. Hey.
And then they kicked out Jason, and then we'll get back to you guys on that.
Yeah. So Jason, he's gone. He left in 2001, I believe, or maybe 2002. Yeah, no,
That
it
whole
was
thing
2001.
it was so stupid.
It's stupid. James didn't want him to do a side project, and that's basically it. And he's like, I want to do a side project.
Nothing against him. I just refuse to accept Robert Trujillo has been in Metallica longer than Jason.
He's been in longer than every basis. He is the.
That's an insane,
It's crazy.
Good for him. I'm really not. I'm just being stupid. It's it's crazy stat.
It's crazy. It's so crazy. The fact that not only has he been with them the longest, he is qualified. He deserves it. Like his roots where he came from.
He does.
He's from the right pool of people that you would pick for replacement. Like he's from the same generation as them. Like he's from the punk era and stuff. He has the chops. He has like the same kind of personality. Like he fits in perfectly, but my brain won't accept it. Like he's really is a perfect bassist.
That's a perfect way to put it. You know what? I bet a younger. He's still. I think he could pull off leather pants and eyeliner. I think he'd look cool as shit. I think he'd look cool as. No.
Oh,
just yeah. Like if he was in there instead of Jason, I think he could have pulled it off.
Imagine him doing the fucking squatting stuff that he does when he gets.
Hell yeah, he'd probably have
leather pants,
devil horns on too, and a weird print button-up shirt.
Holy crap.
I think he would have killed that look. Actually,
I will give some credit to Jason on the Cutting Stunts live performance. He's just wearing a fucking t-shirt. He's wearing an oversized Metallica t-shirt, and he's just a regular dude. Like he didn't play along with that shit at all. At least in that performance.
Yeah, I think that's Jason's whole thing. He's just a dude who was in the right place at the right time, and they made him eat. We didn't even maybe we did. They made that dude eat so much shit.
Oh yeah, like a pound of wasabi or something. Like
they treated him really bad. Really
they
bad.
hazed him pretty hard.
Yeah.
But they also auditioned 40 to 80 people or something, and and if he's the one who made the cut, I mean, he definitely had some spunk.
Yeah.
But he is no more. When we get back for part 3, he's going to be long gone. But anyway. That's that. Thank you so much for listening and watching and hanging out. Let's do a little bit of a recap.
Best personal favorite, the Black Album. No duh. Out of this batch of characters, worst, least favorite, Reload. I thought Load was going to get that title, but fuck that. Fuck Reload. I feel weird how strongly I feel that is a significantly worse. Unlike you who could go I feel really weird how confident I am in that decision.
Much you hate Reload.
Yeah.
Hilarious. For me, best personal favorite, Black Album. Yeah. And then I'm giving it to Load, worst and least favorite, because it's just too much of we're gonna do hard rock on this album. And even though I can give or take both of those albums, at least Reload has one song that I think is genuinely great and out it's a step above the rest in creativity. At least that. But anyway, thank you so much for listening and watching and hanging out and enjoying us. I'm sure you enjoyed us. If you want to hang out further, you know what to do. Like the video, leave a comment, subscribe, tell us why we're morons and what we got wrong. If you would like to do that, you can follow me on all social media at PandaMonkey and Alex on Instagram at
Every Album Alex.
And please be sure to follow our history guy, Tom Osman, at Tom Osman Sounds on all social media, as well as TomOsmanSounds.com for all his music. He just released a new collab album with a guerrilla drama called Real Silence. You can find links to all that in the description. And his podcast, Whatever Comes Next, where he interviews a bunch of indie musicians. Cool stuff. You can find links to all that in the description. My EP, where I make sounds and music, you can find that in the description as well. And most importantly, baby, patreon.com/everyalbumever. That's where you go. You get bonus episodes, 2 bonus episodes a month. You get to vote on polls to decide who we cover next. You get to see our schedules in advance. You get to join the Discord, be a part of the community. You could also suggest
hear us talk about Diamond Head.
Hear us talk about Diamond Head. Yes, we have a bunch a bunch of bonus episodes there at this point. Diamond Head is one of them, which was a very fun episode. Got to nerd out a lot over that album.
Entombed, if you
Entombed,
deep metal cuts.
Oh, fucking Bethlehem, like a bunch of deep metal cuts. The most recent
I forgot about Bethlehem was weird.
Nuts. The most recent one, as of this recording that we posted, was Absence by Dialect, and
which is metal. It's hip hop, but it's metal.
It's hip hop, but they're a metal band. All right, let's get it. They're metal. Bunch of good stuff there. You can also suggest episodes for our EAE singles episodes. So if a new album came out this year and you want to talk about it, suggest it there. And if you're tier 2, bigger than Jesus, yes, then you can suggest a full discography for us to cover on these bigger, longer, much longer numbered episodes. And then in addition to that, if you want, you could also suggest any bonus episode, any album from any discography. I mean, that's where we get all those bonus episode ideas from, is from the patrons. So there's a lot there. Go do that. Thank you. Wrapping it up. What are you feeling like?
I want to choose violence. And I think I know which one you're going to pick. I know, but I originally wanted to be a troll and play I Disappear, but
fuck that.
I really think, and I know which one you're going to pick, but I'm still going to give you the choice. I think we should play The House That Jack Built or Where the Wild Things Are. We should lean into the weird alti Metallica.
I commend your decision about that. You know what I have to do.
Go for it.
It's too underrated. Hell yeah. So fuck the Black Album, dude. This is Where the Wild Things Are.
Here's the thing. I don't know how many people actually listen to our closing songs, but no one needs to listen to the Black Album. You know it. You know it. Already. I know it. We all know it. You don't need to listen to it. Here,
I would argue that the only acceptable track off the Black Album to put would be "Don't Tread on Me."
Yeah.
Because everything else we've heard everything. They've never played it live. I never heard them play it live. I'm sure they have. Yeah. So hell yeah, Where the Wild Things Are. Thank you so much for listening and watching. See ya.